Okay, so how many of you play Candy Crush? No, you got to be kidding, right? Seriously, there's one honest person here? 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay, so I don't know how to tell you this. Candy Crush makes no sense. So you are not actually choosing to play Candy Crush. There's a different part that's working here, and we're going to do that this morning if I stop rambling. So how many of you, when you get a little haptic or sound signal that a new message has come in, how many of you will not look at your iPhone or your smartphone? Anybody? Seriously? You don't?
Not immediately.
No. So the guys who designed this designed it for you to look. And they designed it using psychology. I'm going to talk about the psychology in 2 seconds. They designed it so that you do, what's the guy's name? Tristan, there's a guy who he was the chief ethicist at Google, and he's written some fabulous articles on the web about how you are carrying around a slot machine in your pocket. Anybody know this guy that I'm talking about? Tristan, I've forgotten his last name now. They're really worth reading because the guys who designed it, he was part of the design team. They were studying a branch of psychology that Brenda and I are planning on really focusing a bit more on starting in the fall.
Tristan Harris.
Thank you, Tristan Harris. How'd you get it so fast? So Tristan Harris. So what these guys did was they went back to the psychology that started in the late 70s and studied ways to make you hooked to your phone. Because once you're hooked, then you're a consumer for life. And the techniques that they used were explored, researched on rats, and it turns out that our response to what's called dopamine hijacking, and I'll come back to this at the end, is not very different from how a rat responds. And it turns out it's not that hard to hijack a rat's brain, and apparently Candy Crush tells us it's not that hard to get a kid's brain either, at a cost. Now, what I just mentioned is what we're trying to do, what we're always trying to do in self-reg, or what I'm trying to do, is fill in the gaps that I thought were missing in Isaiah's argument. So it's, he's looked at what all these famous philosophers said, and that's great. I find it very inspiring. But what he didn't look at was what psychologists were saying. And what psychologists were saying was that we have a problem here. Not that many people, not that many individuals can do what he said. What is it? I'm going to be the instrument of my own will. So I'm not sure I'm ever that way. And my wife is the instrument of my will. So in 1977, a paper was published, and it sort of marked the explosive birth of a new science called the psychology of reasoning. And it was an experiment that was done by Tim Wilson and Richard Nisbett. What they did was they took 4 identical pairs of stockings, and they said to undergraduate female students, choose one pair. Choose the one that you think is the best. And what they found was about 50% chose the last pair. So this is called the position effect. So the position effect is used all over the place. So supermarkets are wonderful at the position effect in terms of what they put at the checkout counter. So the position effect is what's known as a reasoning bias. And we have tons and tons of them. These reasoning biases that are, so now I need to ask this because I don't know how much self-reg everyone here has done. These are limbic impulses. Am I all right saying these are limbic? These are red brain impulses. Is there anybody who's not sure what that means? So the big difference between blue brain and red brain, blue brain is free. Blue brain is done for a reason. I can give my reason. Red brain is cause. These are behaviors that are caused. So what I can do is I can take 4 identical pairs of stockings and I can predict that the odds are 2 to 1 that you're going to choose the last pair, even though there is no difference between them. It's too common a behavior. Okay, so that's kind of cool in itself, but now here's the really interesting part. Then what Wilson and Nisbet did was they interviewed all of the people that chose the last pair of stockings. And they said, why'd you choose those? And not one single person said no reason. Everybody had a reason. So they would say things, well, the thread count was better on this pair. And to control for that, what Wilson and Nisbet did was they would switch around the stockings, right? So that we knew that there was actually better thread count. The color was a bit better. These felt better. They always had a reason. And so what made this science explode was not simply that we can manipulate behavior, but that when we do, people rationalize their behavior. People make up a reason. It's called confabulating. They always had a reason. We knew, as scientists, oh, this is a joke, right? We can get and do whatever we want. But our desire to see ourselves as rational is so strong. We all want to see ourselves as rational. We all want what Berlin describes. We want to see ourselves as being the instrument of our own will. We don't want people to think, I don't know why I chose those. So we make up a reason to make ourselves look good. Or maybe we're doing it to ourselves. Maybe we need to see ourselves as having a reason why I chose this.